Welcome back, people. Here we have another anime to review. This review today will be on the beautiful anime Concrete Revolutio. If you weren't here last time, here's the rating scale in which these animes will be reviewed on, from the story all the way down to the side notes. Now let's go. This story takes place in the Shinka era, because that's what they wanted to call it, centered around the Superhuman Bureau, an organization whose sole purpose is to help and protect superhumans, and here we find the main character Jiro, the only human in the Bureau. Also accompanying him is Kiko and Furuta. Their days consist of helping and battling superhumans, while also getting tangled with such things as bug creatures, beasts, androids, and a lot more, while schemes and plans start to arise in the city that could mean trouble for the Bureau. First things first, I love this world. This world is just so lively, and you can feel this within every episode, even from the beginning. But we can talk about that a little bit later. This anime is actually a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. And that's because it plays through two different timelines. The story is being told through the past and also the future. But technically the future is the present, and the main story is in the past. But when you kind of look at it at first, it looked like it's in the present, and then it's telling the... Never mind. But anyway, this makes for like a very great kind of storytelling, because it's kind of in a way like you're trying to like put together like this puzzle, because you're seeing how things are, and you see how things will be. So like just slowly meeting up with each other, it's very good that way. And the main thing that's being told through this timeline is, at the beginning, or the past, Jiro, the main character, is with the Superhuman Bureau. But in the future, present, he's not anymore, and he's against the Bureau. And then that's the thing that's going to tie all these stories together. Because in this anime, each episode is an entirely different thing they have to battle with. Like one episode they might be fighting with bugs, and the other one they have to be fighting other superhumans. There's always something different each time. And from those past missions, you can see then in the present of how that those missions before had helped him now in the present. But when it comes to the story, I think for the most part, it's told pretty well. Because in the past, you can see how they deal with each of these problems. And then in the future, you can see how some of these actions turned out. Some for the better, some for the worse. And I also like how it's always something different every single episode. It's not like they linger and, you know, talk about like the same bullshit every single episode. No, it is a completely different subject every single episode. But one thing about this anime though, it gets messy. Even from the first episode, it gets messy. One major thing that they do, that especially at the beginning that's very noticeable and very fucking irritating, is the time transition through the past and the present. They do this so fast that it's like sometimes you won't even notice that they did it at all. Because you'll be watching the past, and then they'll like flash for like 1 second, like a timestamp that is now the future / present. But then like if you don't notice that, you will be completely thrown off. And like the first couple episodes that I saw this, completely fucking irritating. Sometimes when they do this, the present and the past, they don't look that different. So sometimes you're thinking you're still looking at the past when you're actually looking at the present. This is just done just very, very sloppy. And the timestamp is so fast, it's almost instant. The content that they're actually showing you in the present is actually good content. But it's just the fact that how they go about it is just messy. I would definitely not recommend eating during this shit, because you will be thrown off instantly. Because you should be sitting there, by the eat your bowl of cereal, you look down and take a bite, that timestamp will flash in like 0.0001 seconds, and the time you look back up, you'll be like, oh, okay, you know, I'm still watching the fucking past, and then like some fucking random shit will happen. You'd be like, when the fuck did this happen? And then you're like, oh shit, I'm in the fucking future now. Fucking confusing. I don't know if it's because I got more used to it, or did they do the transitions a bit more smoother? But I started to not notice as much later on. But those first couple episodes, I noticed every single time. And that shit was annoying. And the last big downfall of this story is the last act of this anime. It is so damn sloppy. It is so sloppy, confusing jumble of mess I've seen in a while. You can follow the entire story, even with the the jumping through the time, and it can be a little bit sloppy then, but you can still follow everything pretty well, and the story is still told very well. But when it gets to that last act, I was just watching the whole thing, and I'm just looking like, what the fuck are they doing? I had no clue. I had to actually go back and rewatch it to like understand what the fuck they were talking about and understand what the fuck were they doing. Like, that last act, what they did there compared to the rest of the goddamn anime kind of just doesn't mix. The flow is just thrown off when it gets to that last act. I don't know if they were trying to go big with it. I don't know if they just didn't know how to end it. But that last act is just fucking... It's just very sloppy. But other than that, when it still comes to the story, I still enjoyed it. All those episodes, all those different monsters and beasts and androids, I loved all of it. Their backstory, how they dealt with the problems. I liked each and every one of the episodes, except for that last half. Now let's move on to the characters. Kiko is a magician and one of the newest members of the Superhuman Bureau. Now, Kiko was one of the more well-made characters in this anime, but that's for the simple fact that that's because she's the most developed character in this anime. Through her time in this bureau, you can see that her personality and her demeanor change throughout the time in this bureau. Because of the things that they have to do, because of the missions, because of the enemies, all these things affect her personality throughout, and you can visibly see it. Which is more I can say for the rest of these characters, as it really doesn't seem like things don't affect them as much in this anime, but she's one of the only characters that you can see that these actions and these fights start to take a toll on her. And some for the worse and some for the better. It's just the fact that she's going through them at all, which is the good thing. Kiko's character, she's very loving, she's very innocent and wide-eyed. She's clumsy. She's a very hopeful character for the most part. And she places a lot of those hopes on the main character, Jiro, to do the right thing or what she believes morally is the right thing. And that's the thing that gives both of these characters their connection. And the kind of way that she looks up to him, in a way. For the most part, I like this character. I like what she goes through, and I like how she's developed. The only thing that I do not like about this character is that she is forced to have a romance with the main character, Jiro. And we'll talk about that when we start talking about Jiro. Let's talk about Jiro. Now, this has to be the most disappointing character. The most disappointing character that I have seen in quite some time. This character is so boring. He is boring down to every last action he does. And that's what I mean by disappointing. Not disappointing because he's necessarily a bad character, but just the fact that he's so damn boring. And it's a little funny because he's the reason why I watched this anime. I saw him on the cover of it and I'm like, oh man, this character is going to be so cool, so badass. It looks so bright and colorful. I'm like, I'm going to love this guy and I'm going to love this anime. For the most part, yeah, I like this anime, but him, no. Yeah, he's like the definition of misleading as hell. I was expecting this guy to be one of my favorite characters. That's how I was feeling going into this. But every single episode, when I'm just seeing his personality and that there's nothing to it, and it's just so annoying to see. And I've seen this personality type before, and almost every single time I've seen it fail, because it is a terrible personality type. This personality type is what I like to call man on a mission. And with that, they have no personality outside from the mission that they were given or they put themselves on. It's like, oh, I gotta go save my father. Uh-oh, gotta protect my sister. Something of that nature. And they have nothing else outside of that. Cracking a joke? Nope. Snarky? Nope. An asshole? Nope. A badass? No. They have nothing outside of that. And I've seen so many animes do it. That does not make a character. Just because you make a character do something, that does not fill the gap he has for a personality. Now, I've heard people say like, oh, you know, that character's cool. That character, Jiro, is not cool. His car is cool. The things that he has are cool. His abilities are cool. He does cool things. He hang around with bad bitches. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But he himself is not cool. The things around him are cool. But when you look at his personality and the things that he says and does, he is not cool. He is just boring. And in a world like this, I don't know how they fucked it up so goddamn bad. All of these bright and colorful characters, and then you have Jiro? Jiro? Come the fuck on. And the romance that he has with Kiko, it is so unbelievably stupid and uncalled for. When you watch this anime, you're gonna be like, this romance was completely unneeded. For the most part, hell, you don't even realize that there is a romance half the time. I forgot about it. When they brought it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you guys are trying to do this bullshit ass romance. Every time you see it on screen, it is completely awkward. And every time I watch it, I'm like, this is a complete waste of time. And speaking of that, for the most part, it doesn't seem like this anime has time for it. It seems like they're so busy doing everything else, they're just trying to squeeze in those couple seconds so they can develop this romance of theirs. And I can kind of see what they were trying to do with this romance. You know, she's the person who's like trying to put her feelings out there, like, oh, I like him, blah, blah, blah. And you're supposed to be the character, like, either that he's like so oblivious that he doesn't notice, or he's like purposely ignoring her. I can kind of see that they're trying to do that route, but they're executing it poorly as hell. Because every time they get into this scenario and she tries to like make this romance scene, he doesn't give anything back. It's just like pointless. It's like if she tried to romance a brick wall, there's nothing there. And it's just the simple fact that his character is so boring that he's literally unable to have a romance. His character won't allow it. And this is just a pointless thing that they didn't have to do. They didn't have to make that kind of connection. It was just unnecessary. But yeah, Jiro, I hate him. Now let's move on to the music. Now the music in this anime is forgettable. This is just really basic anime music and there's really nothing to it. Not saying that it's bad music. I think we can all agree that anime music inherently is at least decent music. And for the most part, this music just sounds like that basic, generic anime music. Like the intro, the outro, some of the music in the anime, and done. See, look, you already forgot it. But once again, it's not that this anime music is bad, it's just, there's nothing really anything to it. It's just in one ear, out the other, and the minute you stop watching it, you already forgot. Now let's move on to the animation. Now the animation in this anime is beautiful. All of it looks so good. I've said it before already, but this anime, this world, it is just so bright. It's so colorful, so vibrant. Every time I looked at it, I'm like, man, does this look good. And it fits the world that they're in, full of superhumans and superheroes. And you're supposed to get that vibe from like the old school superheroes, in which like they were colorful and everything around them are colorful. You get kind of that sense when you're watching it. And not even that, just the style that they do. Like when you look at some objects, like some things have outlines, some things have even stronger outlines and like are a different color from the object itself. The colors that they choose to use on different characters and whatnot, they all look so good. And usually when I see animes that have the animation style that's similar to this one, they usually have the red outlining. But it's actually kind of good to know that you don't necessarily have to do the red outlining to have an animation style that looks like this. And I hope that other animes follow suit in this. But the animation is great and it fits the world perfectly. Now let's move on to the side note. One thing that I greatly praise this anime for is its sense of community. And what I mean by that is like, how lively does the anime feel? And that's not something I can say about a lot of animes. A lot of animes, what they do with their characters, like they show up and then they're gone the minute they get their spotlight. So in a sense, it's like saying like, oh, a couple episodes have gone by, you don't see them, you don't hear about them, nothing. Then the 4th episode hits, and it's like, uh-oh, then it's like their episode, and it's all about them. Then after that 4th episode, it's like, poof, they're gone. They don't matter anymore. They're gone out the fucking show. And that's what I mean by like a lively world, that even before and after their big episode, they're still a part of the anime. You still might see them, you still might hear about them before and after. And that's one thing that this anime does well, and I love it. These characters, even when they're not the most important thing at the moment, they're still important though. They're still a part of the show. The show that I would compare this to, so you can get kind of the feel for what I'm saying, the show that I think that did it the best is Durarara. Because in that anime, they all felt connected, they all felt useful, even when the story wasn't even mainly about them. You still saw them and felt them in the city, and it felt alive. And that's what this anime does. Not as well, but they still do a fine job of it. Another thing, I love the character designs of all of these superheroes. Because they look like actual superheroes that can have their own actual shows that I would love to see. And they have their own backstories and villains and their gimmicks about them. And those are all the things that make the city still seem alive. And make these characters feel like old-fashioned superheroes. And speaking of old-fashioned, you can clearly see that they took some inspiration from other shows in this anime, like Sailor Moon transformations and Megazords from Power Rangers, things of that nature. And it's nice because you start getting that nostalgic feeling when you see some of these characters. And I can't even lie, some of the times when I saw these characters or saw this animation for the things that they were doing, I couldn't help but getting the biggest dumb grin on my face. But that's enough for the side notes, let's get on to the rating. From what this anime has shown us, this anime deserves a rating of a 7.5. I'm mad because this anime could have gotten easily much higher, at least an 8. But from its messed up with its story and having such a terrible main character like that, among other little things, I couldn't give it something as an 8 and I just had to hold it back. And I was considering going lower, but I thought about it and everything about this anime I still thoroughly enjoyed. The story was still a good story. These were still some pretty good characters. I love the superhero aspect of it and how they showed it off. A lot of things in this anime were still great. This is only the first season and there is a lot that they can do with this anime. They can even do some spin-offs with some of these superheroes if they really wanted to. But in the second season, if they do get it, I hope that they stay more focused with their story, and I hope to God that they fix Jiro, because he is just a terrible mess. And just really bringing down this anime. But other than that, this anime is still enjoyable to watch. Might not be the strongest one that I say that you should go pick up, but I still feel like it is at least still worth a watch. But that is it for the review. Thank you all for watching again. I will have another video out much sooner than before, so stick around. My name is Downcast, and I'm out.